Hello and welcome back to Talk New Music. So this week I'm back with another review video, and for this week it's going to be Coldplay's new album Moon Music. And when they announced they were going to be releasing this album, I was so excited to listen to it. I pre-ordered it straight away, and that was like back in June, and I've been counting down ever since to the release of this album because I just couldn't wait to hear it. So I thought I would give you my review of it. So as I've just mentioned, the album is called Moon Music and it's by Coldplay. It's their 10th studio album and it was released on the 4th of October, which is yesterday as I'm filming this video. So as I've just mentioned, I pre-ordered this album as soon as it was announced it was going to be released, and I've been counting down ever since, and it's safe to say it did not disappoint. And this is definitely a contender for my favourite Coldplay album because I just loved it as soon as I heard it. So for my first impressions on this album, I just loved how much suspense it kicks off with. Like the first song, which is the title track of the album, Moon Music, it just holds that suspense for probably about 3 minutes into the album. And it gives off kind of almost like a mystical, magical vibe for the first 3 minutes, and then it kicks into the lyrics. And then the transition into It Feels Like I'm Falling in Love is just absolutely incredible. When I heard how it kind of blends in, it sort of, Moon Music ends with some of the lyrics from It Feels Like I'm Falling in Love, and that was just amazing. Like I was like, yes, the album just completely kicked in and it's incredible. I do find it really interesting how the next two songs after Moon Music are two songs that they've already released, Feels Like I'm Falling in Love and We Pray. I just thought it was quite interesting how it was sort of like a new song of theirs that nobody would have heard until they'd listened to this album, and then it went into two of the songs that they've known. A lot of artists usually split these up throughout the album, but I thought it was quite a nice, like, interesting touch that they've put on the album. And to be honest, We Pray, I wasn't really too sure what I thought of the song when it first came out as a single, but on this album it fits in so well, and the song has really grown on me as I've listened to this album a few times. Since they released the first single off the album, Feels Like I'm Falling in Love, I actually fell in love with that song. I know there was a bit of like controversy around the song, but it is one of my favourite Coldplay songs, so it was quite nice to have that on the album quite early on and like setting the scene of the album. And I also find it quite interesting how I think there's 2 or 3 songs on there that are almost 6 minutes long. There's 10 songs in total, but I find it quite interesting that they have the longer songs on there, and the way it's split up throughout the album to have the longer songs is really interesting as well. What I do also find quite interesting about this album is the naming conventions for the songs. Now, I don't know if I'm missing something on why this has been done, but you have Feels Like I'm Falling in Love all in lowercase, and then most of the other songs are all uppercase letters. And then you have the odd song that's kind of a mix of lowercase and uppercase, but not in any sort of order as you'd like normally write them down. And I find that quite like unusual for the album, but almost it fits quite well as well. I don't know if I'm missing something there with it, but it was something that stuck out to me and kind of striked me about being different on the album. When I first listened to this album, it gave me like the impression of it being almost like you're listening to it, but the way it's kind of ordered is almost in like as if you were at a live show. So it's kind of hard to explain, but I got the feeling that like Moon Music, as it starts, it's almost like the opener to a show. You know, it kind of builds that suspense of the artist coming out on stage, and then as it's sort of like the lyrics kick in, that's sort of almost like when the artist has come on stage to start singing, and it builds up the hype, and then it just goes into that song that a lot of fans love, the Feels Like I'm Falling in Love. You know, there's sort of like that big sort of almost energy behind it, and you can just imagine everybody getting up and dancing at a gig to that. And then it sort of like progresses into almost the 6 minute long songs are kind of spaced out as almost like the changes in the set, you know, like the artist changing outfits, and it's really unusual but really clever. I don't know if that's how it's intended, but that's how I picked up on it. And then towards the end of the song you just get that like almighty, you know, like wow of, you know, like the ending kind of the gig, you know, like when it all kicks off. And I don't know, the album just gave me that impression that almost they could play it start to finish at a concert, and it was all well, you know, put together for the intro of them coming on the stage, the changes of the set and the what outfits they're wearing, and then, you know, it just flowed really nice, and I just really like that about it. So my favourite set of lyrics from this album, and I'm going to pick up on 2 because there were 2 that stuck out of me from first listen. And the first one comes from the song All My Love. That one is just beautiful lyrically. Really kind of like slow vibe song, but the lyrics are just they're beautiful, so well put together. And I had to pick a lyric from this song because obviously it's so strong, so powerful. And I've written them down in front of me, but I'll read them out to you. And this is the set that stuck out to me so much. And the lyrics are, "You've got all my love, whether it rains or pours, I'm all yours. You've got all my love, whether it rains, it remains, you've got all my love." It's a touching song overall, but I just like how descriptive they are, and yeah, just give me like really strong feelings on that song. And the song's also kind of like their old vibe, but also completely new as well, if that makes sense. And my other favourite set of lyrics come from the song Jupiter, and they are, "I love who I love, the message from above is never give up, love who you love." And again, I think they're just really strong and really powerful, and they stood out to me from first listen of that song. So for my favourite songs on the album, now this is probably going to change because I'm not one who kind of like has a set sort of song from an album. It changes depending on my mood. So I've gone with the songs that stuck out to me from first listen, but as I say, I'm filming this from the day after the album came out, so probably in a week's time these will have changed because there is a lot of good songs on the album. So I'm going to choose 3 songs. The first one that stuck out to me from first listen is Good Feelings, and I just love how upbeat it is. It caught my attention straight away. It's really, you know, sort of a song that you can get up and dance to, and at the moment in time, you know, the sun was shining, I was listening to the album, and yeah, that one just caught my attention straight away. Then I would also say Feels Like I'm Falling in Love. I love this one when it came out of a single. It's remained my favourite Coldplay song since the song came out, and I just love that it's on this album. And I do think that one is going to remain my favourite Coldplay song for a very long time. And then my third favourite at the moment would have to be Jupiter. I just think it's an overall really good song. There's a really good set of lyrics in there, and yeah, I chose that one for my third. There are 2 songs though that could potentially become my favourite songs. They're really strong contenders in my favourite Coldplay songs, and they are All My Love, which I just think lyrically it's really strong. You know, it's a really touching song, as I mentioned before, and I do think that does have potential to become my favourite. And they also have Eterna, I think it's pronounced, which I believe is Latin for eternal, and I love how different that song is, and I think that could quite easily become one of my favourites as well the more I listen to the album. So we'll move on to the artwork, and I'll put a picture of it on the screen so you can see what I'm talking about. But I love how simple but effective the artwork is. So it's kind of like a twilight background and has the crescent moon in like a clear starry night sky with a rainbow within an iridescent cloud, and I feel like that fits perfectly to the title of the album, Moon Music. And I do also like how it ties together really nicely with the songs on the album, because you have a song that has an emoji in its name, it's a rainbow, and that rainbow is portrayed on the cover of the artwork. And I just think it's really striking and really eye-catching. So overall, I think this is an incredible album. It's a really strong contender for my favourite Coldplay album, and to be honest, it's made me even more gutted that I didn't manage to get tickets to see Coldplay in 2025. But it was definitely worth the wait from when they announced this album was going to be coming to now. It's just amazing. I love it so much, and it's going to be an album that I listen to constantly. I just know it is. But yeah, I just really enjoyed listening to it, and I'm so happy that it's finally out. If you've checked out Coldplay's new album Moon Music, please let me know what you think of it on the comments below, because I would absolutely love to know. And if you would like to discover some incredible independent artists, then please head on over to my website to go and check them out. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.